Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary from marysnest.com, where I share traditional recipes for making nutrient-dense foods using simple ingredients. And today we're going to make a sprouted wheat banana bread. In a previous video, I showed you how to make sprouted flour, so today I thought I'd take you along and show you how to bake with it. It's very easy. It's really no different than using any type of other flour. But what's nice about this is sprouted flour, especially being whole grain, will give you a lighter texture when it comes to quick breads, muffins, and that type of thing. Now, you can also use this to make a yeasted bread, but I usually use a sourdough when I do that. And I can also link to my Foolproof sourdough starter and my sourdough bread videos that can walk you through those steps. But what I like about sprouted flour when it comes to making quick breads is that if you're just using regular whole wheat flour and you want to soak it in order to make it more digestible and allow you to absorb the nutrients from the whole wheat better, I find that it makes a denser baked good. And the reason is you have to soak the wheat flour overnight or, for 8 hours or so at room temperature in some sort of acidulated water, something with a little lemon juice or a little whey, something of vinegar, something like that. And then the next day is when you add your other ingredients. And that is where the problems begin. And the reason is you're doing all that stirring, and quick breads, in order to remain tender and light, need the minimal amount of stirring. So what I find, it's well worth it to go through the process of sprouting your own grain, or you can also purchase sprouted flour as well. And in the long run, you'll have much nicer quick breads and muffins. And when you're introducing these type of whole grain products to your family, they'll also like them better too, I think. Well, in any event, let's get started. But before we do, if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you'd like to learn more about traditional foods cooking, please subscribe to my channel and be sure to click on the notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Alrighty, let's go over the ingredients first. Now, right here, I have 2½ cups of sprouted flour. And then I have a cup of sugar. This is Sucanat. It's just the dried cane juice. You can also use, sometimes it comes under the name Rapadura. You can also use maple sugar if you want. That can be a little expensive though, but that certainly is an option available to you. And if you want, if all you have is like a light brown sugar, you can use that. You can even use a dark brown sugar. And you can also use a white sugar if you want. It'll change the taste a little, but you can certainly do that if that's what you have. And you may want to, use a white organic sugar, but that's up to you. Now, let's go over the spices here. I've got a tablespoon of cinnamon, I've got a teaspoon of cloves, and I've got a teaspoon of allspice. And then I've got 3½ teaspoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to use 1/3 cup of sour cream. We're going to use 2 eggs. And these, I believe, are extra large eggs. If you just have large eggs, that's fine too. This is a very forgiving and flexible recipe. So you can just use what you have. And then I have a cup of chopped nuts. These specifically are pecans. I live in Central Texas, so pecans are common here. And so that's what I like to use. But you can use any kind of nut that you want. And all I've done, that was almost sent that flying. But all you can do is take a little flour right from here and dust the nuts, and that'll help them from sinking to the bottom. And since I almost tipped that over, luckily I didn't, but that reminds me to share with you that you're also going to use 1/2 cup of melted butter. Now I've let this melt, and I have let it cooled, as we don't want to cook the eggs, but it's still in its liquid form. It's just sort of mildly warm. And then the star of the show, 3 bananas that you've mashed. Now, again, you know, this is forgiving, and it's a little, you have to be a little flexible about the bananas. You basically want 3 medium-sized bananas, and when it's all mashed, it's going to be somewhere around 1 1/3 to 1 1/2 cups. Don't worry about it. Just get 3 what look like medium-sized bananas, and if they're right at that point where they're a little overripe, it's perfect. And just mash them with a fork, and then you're all set. Now, what I love about this recipe, it couldn't be easier. We're basically just going to dump everything in, give it a stir, and put it in the pan and bake it. And what you'll want to do is make sure that you've preheated your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to just make a little well here, and we're just going to start dumping everything in. I'm going to go ahead and put the melted butter right in the middle there. And then I'm going to take the sugar. I'm going to take all of our spices and our baking powder and our salt. And then we're going to do our teaspoon of vanilla. Oh my goodness, I think I'm going to have to get my husband to uncork this or unscrew this for me. Okay, my knight in shining armor came to my rescue. And now I'm going to put just a teaspoon of vanilla. Put that right in like that. And next we're going to take this sour cream, and we're going to just put this right in. Get everything out of this little bowl. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give these eggs a little beating here with the fork. Nothing fancy. I just want to break up those yolks before I add them in, since we're just doing this one bowl process. Okay, I'm going to put those right in there. And then we're just going to take the nuts, sprinkle them right in. And then our star of the show, the bananas. We're just going to put those right in there. And that's that. Let me just move this out of the way. And basically, we're just going to take probably no more than 30 seconds, maybe, to mix this all together. And we're just going to bring this together. And just, you want to make sure that all of the flour has been moistened. And just go down on the bottom, because sometimes the flour can hide down there, and just keep doing this until everything's moistened, but you don't want to over mix. So I'll just continue to do this. Probably just take me another few seconds here to get all the flour in, and then we'll transfer it into our baking dish. Well, I've got my loaf pan, and this is 9 by 5. If your loaf pan is smaller than that, you'll probably want to use 2 and divide the batter between the 2. But this is a nice big one. And also too, if you do bake in glass, it's probably going to take a little longer than if you're using a metal loaf pan. But I'll put all the times and whatnot about that in the recipe, in the printable recipe that you can print out at my website. But that's basically what I use. I love to bake in glass because I find I can really see what's going on, and it helps me know exactly what how it's browning and whatnot. So, but what I do is I grease the bottom of the pan a little bit just to create like a little glue. Then I put a little piece of parchment paper, and then I grease the parchment paper. And the reason I like to do that is because this way you're guaranteed nothing's going to stick. And the reason you grease the parchment paper is so that when you go to peel it off the bottom of the bread, it doesn't stick. Now, a little tip here. I do not grease the sides of my loaf pan when I'm making quick bread like a banana bread. And the reason is I like it to be dry so that helps give the quick bread something to grip to and helps the rise. So that's why I don't have the sides greased. Alrighty, well now all we have to do is put this right into this loaf pan, and when I get this all in, we're going to top it with a little crunchy sugar to make it extra nice. Well, I've got the batter all in my loaf pan here, And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spatula and I'm just going to draw a little line right down the middle. Because as you may have experienced, quick breads, do tend to get a little bit of a crack on top, which is nice, and shows that it's baked. But this will just help direct it to maybe, it might have a mind of its own, but just doing this might help encourage it to crack in the center. In any event, the next thing that we're going to do is take a little demerara sugar. You can also use a turbinado sugar or any kind of crunchy brown sugar type mixture that you can find at your grocery store. Sometimes they'll just have regular brown sugar, but like in larger crystals. So you want to get something like that, and then you mix it with, it's a tablespoon of that, and then you want to mix it with a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then we're just going to sprinkle this right across the top, which will give the top of the bread a nice little crunch and a little bit of extra sweetness, which I like to do when I bake with the dried cane juice like the Sucanat or the Rapadura. And the reason is that is a little less sweet than if you use white sugar or brown sugar. And this little bit of extra sweetness adds a little something special to the bread. And it's not that much, it's just a tablespoon that you're using, and then you've got the teaspoon of the cinnamon mixed in too. Well, let me just finish getting all of this on top, and then we'll pop it in the oven. Well, I've got all the little bit of the demerara sugar and the cinnamon topping sprinkled on top of the quick bread. Now I'm going to pop this in my oven. As I said, it's been preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to probably have to be in there for about 70 minutes. So I'll go ahead and get that in, and when it's all done, we'll take a look. Well, I just took this out of the oven and it smells delicious, and it took just about 70 minutes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a knife and I'm just going to loosen it a little bit in case there's anything sticking. It doesn't seem like it, but just in case while it's warm, I just want to go around like this, and then I'm just going to move it still in the loaf pan to this cooling rack over here before I try to take it out of the loaf pan. And don't worry if when you bake this it looks a little darker. You have to remember you're using whole wheat flour. Even though it is sprouted, it is whole wheat flour and all the spices we put in. So it's perfect. Don't worry about that. Okay, now that I've just loosened that a little bit, I'm just going to put it on my rack over here, let that cool about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll flip it out of the pan and then let it cool a little more on the rack, and then we'll give it a taste. Well, I just let this cool for a few minutes in the loaf pan, and now I'm going to flip it over to put it on the cooling rack. Wish me luck. Alrighty, here we go. Perfect. Oh, I got my little thumb stuck under there. It's still a little, the glass is a little warm. Let's see if I can touch that. Perfect. Oh, beautiful. Oh, and the parchment paper came off with it too. Oh, that looks glorious. Okay, I'm just going to get another cooling rack and we're going to flip it back and let it cool before we slice it. Well, I had flipped it over onto an additional cooling rack, and I let it cool for about another 10 minutes. So I think we're going to be ready to slice this. So I'm just going to pick this up. I'm going to transfer it to my cutting board over here. Move this out of the way. Oh, it smells luscious. I can't wait to slice it. And I've got a serrated knife here. That'll make it nice and easy to do. Oh, it's cutting into it beautifully. Oh, doesn't that look lovely? Look at that. Full of the pecans. Oh my goodness. Oh, and it slices delightful. Let's get another slice. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Oh, this really came lovely. Let's give it a taste and see how it is. I think I'm going to take some of the top part with the cinnamon and the crunchy sugar. Very tasty. Oh, you definitely have to give this a try. I think you're going to really love it. You can taste the banana, and the cinnamon is not overpowering. It's just a beautiful complement with the banana, and you get a little bit of the pecans and the sugar crunch with the cinnamon on top. This is just delightful, and the texture and the crumb of it is beautiful. The sprouted flour did a really nice job. It's not heavy and dense the way you sometimes can get with just regular whole wheat. I think you're going to really enjoy this. I highly recommend it. For complete instructions on how to make this banana bread using sprouted flour, please visit my website, marysnest.com. And if you like this video, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you're interested in learning more about traditional foods cooking, please subscribe to my channel and be sure to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know each time I upload a new video. Well, that's all for today, but thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having you join me again right here in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless.